You are watching the Baltimore Ravens Rundown Live Mailbag. This was filmed in our Tuesday live show. We go live every single Tuesday. It's an absolute blast. You guys better be there next time we're doing it. We're going to do it all off season long. Every single one of these questions was asked from people that were in the live chat. They ask them in live time. I answer them in real time. So if you missed out, be there next time. But before we do that, if you want a shout out on Sunday's live, because again, we're going live on Sunday for the Bills game, spam BAL in the comment section down below. Whoever spams BAL the most, I'll count. I'll keep track. I promise you they will go in Sunday's live show for a shout out. Okay, let's start with the first question. From my man, it's RedEy. Said, #Ravens, I feel like I'm at 68, but do you think Zay will play? And if we win against the Bills, do you think we can go to Arrowhead and beat the Chiefs and eventually win it all? Great question, it's RedEye. A lot to unpack here. Let's start with that first one. Do you think Zay will play? If I was a betting man, and sometimes I find myself to be, only on Prize Picks, but if I was a betting man, I would say Zay won't play. Because the update you got on Monday from John Harbaugh was he's in we'll see mode. That just doesn't sound overtly positive to me, okay? I don't know about you, but that's kind of how it comes across to me. And if we win against the Bills, do you think we can go to the Arrowhead, beat the Chiefs, and eventually win it all? Yes, I do. I really do, okay? I know, call me crazy, call me I'm drinking the Kool-Aid. I know, but guys, this team seems like it is absolutely clicking right now. This is the hottest team in football, in my opinion. They're playing the best football, in my opinion. And a lot of times, if you can win in December, it's because you can run the football well, and it's because your defense is playing well. And this defense is playing better than it's played all year, and this offense is running the football at a better rate than it's played all year. So yes, and I think if you beat the Chiefs in Arrowhead, and if you beat the Bills on the road, there's nobody else that can take you down. Okay? I get the Eagles are playing well. I get the Lions are there. But guys, going on the road to Arrowhead, road to Highmark Stadium, winning both of those games, you're the best team in the NFL. Next one coming from Silky, #Ravens. Do you think if the Ravens bench Brandon Stephens, will we be good? I think we'll be better. I am so ready for this team to move on from Brandon Stephens. It's not funny, okay? Like, Brandon Stephens, I feel like he's been the bane of my existence this entire year. Nobody gives up more yardage in the NFL. Nobody gives up more 50-50 balls. Nobody is closer to being there, but while also not being there in time. Like, he's just close on every single thing. It's maddening. So, yeah, I do think if they bench Brandon Stephens, they would be a little bit better. But also, Trey White has kind of struggled in the past couple of weeks as well. And so I don't mind the Trey White, Brandon Stephens rotation. At least both those guys are fresh for pretty much the entirety of the game. But I'm ready for them to move on to Brandon Stephens in the offseason. That's my opinion. Grove St. Turk, new guy we saw on our Tuesday Night Live chat, said, #Ravens, how do you feel about our secondary against the Bills? Grove, I feel pretty good. Okay, we've seen the secondary and what this secondary has done in terms of the jump they've made from the first 11 weeks of the regular season to the last 7 weeks of the regular season. It was noticeable. They were the worst secondary in football, and then they started playing like the best secondary in football. So that gives me confidence in and of itself. But then you also look at the other side of the football, and you see who Buffalo trots out there every single game with Khalil Shakir, Keon Coleman, Mac Hollins, an older Amari Cooper. And I said this, and I'm going to say it in a couple days, but those guys don't scare me. Like, that might be dramatic. That might be silly to say. This might be clipped and put back on social media in a couple of days. But those guys don't scare me. So I feel pretty good about the secondary against the Bills. Great question, though. Next one coming up from Trizzy Trace. Why didn't the Ravens sign OBJ or Calais Campbell? Trace, that's a good question. So the Calais Campbell thing was because the Dolphins didn't actually end up releasing him like they said they might. They were in playoff contention until the very last week, so they wanted to keep their team as in, like, as intact as they could. They said earlier in the season, you know what, if we get out of playoff contention late and we could still release him and he can still be picked up to win a Super Bowl with somebody else, they would think about that, but they're in contention until week 18. So that's why you didn't sign Calais Campbell. Now, why you didn't sign OBJ, I don't know, man. I really don't. Especially after the Zay Flowers injury news, I thought that might be a good guy to go pick up. I think they just think he's washed. And I think after the whole Deontay Johnson situation with this locker room, with this team, with this front offense, they just did not want to add anybody else to this team. They didn't want to add anybody into the mix because they know that this team has been absolutely clicking as of recent, okay? It's your turn, though, to chime in for me. Was it a mistake not signing a free agent? Okay, if you think so, give me a hell yes, an HY in the comment section down below. And if you think not, give me an HN for hell no, okay? But you let me know. Want to hear your opinion down below. Next one coming up from my man Ryan Vu. Ryan's always in the chat. Absolutely love it. Hashtag Ravens, should we trade for Tyreek? Ryan, great question. I actually made a video about this on Tuesday night. I think they should. I don't think it would cost you that much. I think it'd be about a second-round pick, and I think you could compare the most electric wide receiver in the game with the best running back and most electric quarterback in the game, okay? Now, I'm not here saying that, Tyreek Hill's the best wide receiver in football anymore because I don't think he is. But you would be lying if you looked me in the eyes and told me he wasn't the most electric one, okay? I think this offense would be absolutely unstoppable. Now, you would have to, I think, pass on re-signing some guys in free agency just because you don't necessarily have the money to do a ton of moves. But, man, if you could just get him for a second-round pick, I would do it in an absolute heartbeat. I'm going to talk about a lot of more questions coming up soon. But before that, I got to give a shout-out to our good friends over at Prize Picks. And you know what, guys? It's playoff time. That means it's now or never. So don't miss out on the last few weeks of football action with Prize Picks. It's the best place to win cash while watching the playoffs. You can now win up to 1,000 times your money on Prize Picks. So sign up today and get $50 instantly when you play $5. You don't even need to win or receive the $50 bonus. It's guaranteed. Prize Picks now offers MasterCard for quick and easy deposits into your account this sports season. Prize Picks also offers weekly promotions that can lead to big payouts like Taco Tuesday. Each Tuesday, Prize Picks discounts select player projections up to 25% to provide even more value for your lineup. And I talked about the weekly promotions like a Taco Tuesday. Prize Picks also will sometimes randomly throw in like a massively reduced stat like we're seeing right here for Will Howard pass yards. That's at half a passing yard. All he needs is one passing yard, and that square wins. So I've got the more on that, got the less on Riley Leonard passing yards, and the less on Jeremiah Smith receiving yards. You can tail my picks. You can fade my picks. Just make sure you use our friends at Prize Picks. Download the Prize Picks app today and use code CLNS. Get $50 instantly when you play $5. That's code CLNS on Prize Picks. Get $50 instantly when you play just $5. You don't even need to win to receive the $50 bonus. It's guaranteed. Link to this promo is in the comments and description of today's video. Prize Picks, run your game. Next one's coming up from Jermaine Smith. Feels like he's screaming this one at me. What's your thoughts on Keaton Mitchell being an X-Factor and Nelson Aguilar? Great question, Jermaine. I think Keaton Mitchell, I think both of those guys, maybe not as much. I've wanted Keaton Mitchell to be an X-Factor this entire year, or at least since he's worked back from that injury, and he just hasn't been, unfortunately. Now, I do think next year can be a different story, but I just think he's still going through things coming back from that awful injury that he took in the Jaguars game in 2023, okay? And so, maybe not as much Keaton Mitchell. And Nelson Aguilar, hopefully, but also, I'm not that big of a Nelson Aguilar guy. I think that X-Factors, when it comes to pass catching, got a way higher ceiling for Isaiah Likely. Even got a way higher ceiling for Justice Hill out of the backfield. Hell, I'd even love to see Tez Walker a little bit, okay? You saw him on the field. Didn't get a ton of targets, but, man, that speed's something different, okay? Great question. I don't think so, though. Next up, we got Silly Socks. How silly. Says, can the Ravens have the same success running the football this time around against the Bills? I'm guessing what you mean, Silly, is this time around as in compared to what they did week 4. And maybe not as much. they had a lot of success. Derrick Henry rushed for 199 yards. But I do still think they can have great success. Buffalo does have a lot of guys back from injury that they didn't have in that game. They're a little bit more of a fortified unit. But also, I think this team's just going to run the ball more. And I know Lamar Jackson only had 21 pass attempts against Buffalo. I think it's somewhere around that same number. It's going to be a cold night. Derrick Henry's on an absolute tear. You just absolutely pushed Pittsburgh off the line of scrimmage in terms of run blocking. So I do think that you can have the same success. I think you can have similar success, maybe not as high as you did. I'm going to set the over-under for you. 199.5. What do you think? Do they get more? Do they get less? Type M for more. Type L for less. Let me know in the comment section down below. We got another question coming from Grove St. Turk. Hashtag Ravens. What should we target in the draft? Okay, you asked what, not who, so I'm going to answer it how you asked it. I think you should target defensive line. I wouldn't mind targeting a cornerback, obviously. I think those are my two highest. I think also kind of in the later rounds, maybe go wide receiver, maybe go interior offensive line, or if you don't re-sign Ronnie Stanley, then maybe go at that tackle position. I think there's a good bit of needs for this team going into the offseason. I think defensive line, I think cornerback are at the top of the list, though, in my opinion. And those guys usually at the top of the draft are pretty serviceable, as we've seen Nate Wiggins be an absolute star this year. Okay, next question coming in again from Jacko says, hashtag Ravens, if we make it past Buffalo, who do you want to meet in the AFC Championship game? Jacko, it would be ridiculous to not answer that question with the team you beat 30-2 not even a month ago. Obviously, you want to get the monkey off your back in terms of Kansas City and what they've done historically against you and what they just did last year in the AFC Championship game. But if you have to choose against going on the road and playing Patrick Mahomes in Kansas City or playing the Texans at home, who you've just beat, again, 30-2, that one's obvious for me, man. Give me Houston at home any day of the week. Papa Shook says, hashtag Ravens, does Monken entertain a head coaching offer on another team after this season? Papa, I think that he does entertain it, but I don't think it happens, okay? There's some teams that are interested. The Jags are interested. The Bears are interested. The Jets are interested as well. Bears have requested, I think all those teams have requested an interview. He hasn't taken any yet, but I think he'll entertain them. I think his stock has never been higher. I don't know if his stock ever will be higher. Having a guy pass for over 4,000 yards and a quarterback rush for over 900 yards and another running back rush for 1,900 yards and a receiver catch for over 1,000 yards all in the same season, leading the league in points per game, leading the league in yards per game, all these things, I don't think his stock will ever be or has ever been higher. So I think it'd be silly if he didn't entertain it. Now, if I had to bet, I'd say less than a 50% chance that he is a head coach next year. He's 58. He's older. I just think that's kind of an old age to take a shot on a first-time head coach, a guy who's never been a head coach in the National Football League. Predict it for me down below. Will Todd Monken be a Raven in 2025? Let me know what you think by typing Y for yes or N for no. Make sure you guys hit that subscribe button if you have not, because we are absolutely dialing it up during this playoff season, during this playoff race, during the race to the Super Bowl. And if you want to be there every single step of the way, don't miss a moment, hit that sub button.